Coming in at number 5, Birdemic, Shock and Terror.
Card, and you've all earned your stock option. Congratulations.
Woo! Yeah! I love this movie. Birdemic has never once failed to make me lose my laughing. Even mentioning certain parts of the movie is likely to make me double over. It's one of those things that where you think about it while doing something mundane and it makes you laugh out loud so ridiculously that people think you're crazy. The plot's hard to explain because what should be the major story event doesn't happen until more than halfway into the movie. We meet Rod and Nathalie, two doofuses living their lives as best they can. Their stories kick off in the most exciting fashion, a 6-minute driving sequence where the same loop of music plays over and over. Does this have anything to do with the plot? Are we doing a full credit roll at the beginning of the movie? Is the town picturesque? None of the above, but we do get treated to this lovely car ride anyways. So once the story actually kicks off, we learn that Nathalie has just skyrocketed from a lowly shopping mall photo shoot to the cover of Victoria's Secret. And Rod has helped his company get bought out for $1 billion! In amongst all this excitement, they begin to court, get some gas, eat Vietnamese food at a Thai restaurant, and listen to the hit tune, Just Hanging Out, Hanging Out, Hanging Out with the Family. Having ourselves a party. Now it might seem like this is a pretty standard start to a movie. Well, the first time we see the birds spitting acid and exploding is after their first night in a hotel together. 47 minutes into the 95-minute movie. Some real strong plot pushing the movie along up until this point. So Rod and Nathalie escape the hotel with another couple, Becky and Ramsey, and rescue a couple kids too. And they fend off the birds with coat hangers, just whipping at them. And they meet a scientist who's walking around apparently studying the birds. And then Becky and Ramsey die unceremoniously. And also there's a hippie who warns them about the dangers of global warming. And then Rod catches a fish, but the fish is poisonous. But we don't find out that until the sequel. And then the birds just leave. They're gone. There's something special about a movie that has no idea where it's going. I for one just enjoy being along for the ride. Plus the terrible 3D birds pasted onto every frame. Coming in at number 4, we have The Stuff.
I'm sorry. I mean, I just ate shaving cream.
Well, everybody has to eat shaving cream once in a while.
Enough is never enough. Unlike Birdemic, the folks behind The Stuff actually sort of knew what they were doing. However, they take a crazy idea and run with it full speed. The result is immaculate. This is another flick that makes me laugh at the mention of a few certain lines. Whenever I think of the Tim Heidecker lookalike with a weird accent casually mentioning that everyone needs to eat shaving cream once in a while, I lose it. Wacky special effects and hilarious line reads aside, the plot really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. An old miner discovers a white bubbling substance at the mine, decides to scoop it up on his finger and just eat it. Yep, that's the first thing you learn at mining school. If you see something unknown coming up from the ground, taste it and make sure it's safe. Wemyss would have a field day with his buffoon. So of course this goop becomes a nationwide phenomenon, replacing ice cream, yogurt, and most other foods in kitchens everywhere. What the good folks at home don't know is that the stuff is actually a parasite, waiting to hollow out consumers' insides. Yum yum. Enter David Mo Rutherford, but most folks just call him Mo. He is ex-FBI, now an industrial saboteur, and he's gonna get to the bottom of this. He teams up with Chocolate Chip Charlie, the kung fu fighting junk food mogul with registered weapons for hands, and off they go to see just what the hell the stuff is made out of. On their journey they meet a young lad who found the truth as well, an advertising executive who wants to boink Mo, and the US Army Colonel Malcolm Gromit Spears, who leads a militia against the supposedly communist threat of the ooze. The nationwide addiction to the delicious dreck is ended after they broadcast just one message about how to defeat the stuff. Yep, just one's all it takes. And then the world is safe. The chains of addiction have been broken and the stuff has been purged with fire. Again, it might seem like a plot that, has a beginning, middle, and end and makes sense, but I'm giving you the super abridged version. I skipped over the late night hotel takeover, the full-on military assault of a goop factory, and the terrible fate of Chocolate Chip Charlie. Give it a watch and revel in the nonsense. You won't regret it. Coming in at number 3, Dead Alive or Brain Dead. Another stone cold classic with a dumb as nails plot. In order to get to the insane, balls-to-the-wall zombie splatter finale, you need a bit of stupidity to move this flick along. An illegally imported rat monkey bites poor Lionel's bitter shrew of a mother, leading to her eventual dissolution into zombiehood. As she battles with her inner rat monkey demons, Lionel courts young Paquita Maria Sanchez, who is convinced that they are star-crossed lovers. An almost unbearably cheesy courtship follows against the backdrop of assorted zombie attacks. For whatever reason, Lionel wants to keep this zombie business a secret, even though his mother was the worst and is constantly infecting new people. So he hides them in the basement, even going so far as to rob his mother's grave post-burial in order to return her to the homier catacombs. In the meantime, we get a kung fu fighting priest who kicks ass for the Lord, an extremely horny, money-grubbing uncle, and a real-life zombie conception. Yes, there is a zombie baby. Yes, it was made by two zombies smooshing booties. Yes, I know. Then, in the cinematic blood-soaked finale, every guest at a house party is turned into a stimulant-enhanced super zombie, eventually causing Lionel's mother to turn into the fleshiest, meatiest, disgustingest beast ever to be put on Kiwi film stock. Did I mention this was directed by Peter Jackson of Lord of the Rings fame? Try not to watch it before second breakfast, you might lose your appetite. Coming in at number 2, Truth or Dare. Unfortunately, this is a movie that was both dumb and not fun. Had to make it on the list, I'm sorry. Negativity for negativity's sake isn't very exciting, I know. However, movies like this are what let Blumhouse take an interesting creative risk every once in a while, so I will give it a pass for making $95 million on a $3.5 million budget. Truth or Dare is about college students acting like total idiots while on spring break. Great premise, right? They're having a blast in Mexico when a stranger walks up and tells them they should go to an abandoned church. At first they're like, no, why would we leave this safe and fun bar to go to a creepy abandoned place in an unfamiliar city with a person we just met? But then within like a minute, they're like, you know what, why not? The plot won't happen if we don't. So they go and they play Truth or Dare, and guess what? The game is cursed. Why is it cursed? Don't ask those kind of questions. This is a Blumhouse horror movie. So they go around the rest of their vacation and they go home, but now every once in a while they get asked Truth or Dare, and they have to play or die. The dares become obviously deadly, so why not pick truth every time? That way there's no real danger as the game progresses. Oh wait, the Truth or Dare demon says you're not allowed to do 3 truths in a row. Sorry, demon's rules. As the movie meanders along, each character involved in the game has to deal with Truth or Dare hallucinations as they live their daily lives, leading to some pretty humiliating situations. The thing is, a lot of these could have just been avoided if they stopped to think for literally 1 second. Like, hang up the phone and just tell the demon your truth instead of admitting something to your friend on the other end. Or just say yes to the demon instead of coming out to your homophobic father. All these truths are answerable without ruining your life. The dares are pretty unavoidable, I guess, but they're all pretty dumb. The ending is supreme amounts of dumb. The reason that Truth or Dare is cursed is because the group played it in a haunted building, right? But then the main character puts out a YouTube video and says that anyone who watches is now in the game, even though the people aren't watching from the haunted place. She didn't even record the video at the haunted place. It just doesn't add up. They're not following their own rules. Lastly, and this has nothing to do with the plot itself, but everyone in this movie keeps making this face. I hate this face. It looks silly and bad, not scary. Why? And lastly, at number 1, Deathbed, the bed that eats. Just look at the title. I don't need to say anything else. Demonically possessed bed, man trapped in a painting, $30,000 budget, you get the idea. Fantastic. Kicking us off at number 5, Sharknado. This sci-fi straight-to-TV disaster monstrosity made waves back in 2013. Nobody could shut up about this flick. It was too insane to fail, and thus it reigned supreme in the pop culture at the time. The ridiculous premise and execution elevated to cult hit status, and the B-movie scene hasn't been the same ever since. The premise goes a little something like this. For whatever reason, bad weather is pulling hundreds of sharks out of the ocean and depositing them elsewhere. Onto smugglers' boats, on the boardwalk, all over the LA area in general. It doesn't matter what's actually happening, all you need to know is that we've got airborne sharks who are somehow very aggressive and also in great control of their trajectory. The plot? A dude wants to rescue his ex-wife and daughter from the sharks. And his name is Finn. So on the way to save the fam, Finn rescues some kids from a flooded school bus, something romantic subplot, and then tornadoes develop in the shark-infested floodwater. Now we have 3 tornadoes transporting sharks to the best possible people-eating locations. How do we deal with these tornadoes? we toss bombs from helicopters into the middle of them. Never mind the logistics of flying aircraft near tornadoes, just appreciate the pseudoscience for what it is. Then Finn drives a car bomb into the final tornado, and all is well in the world once again. Part of the allure of the movie comes from the viral campaign surrounding it, showing the general public all of the most ridiculous stunts and moments from the flick. This of course set the standard for all following Sharknadoes: be as ridiculous as possible, as often as possible. It's a good motto. Who cares about the rest? In our first outing, we get treated to a mid-air shark chainsaw slice, a skeet shooting whack-a-mole sequence, and a lovely shot of a girl falling from a helicopter and being gracefully consumed in one bite by a mid-air shark. Nobody walks away from seeing Sharknado feeling normal. It's like getting your sea legs. Coming in at number 4, Sharknado 2, the second one. Shark happens. So Finn and his ex-wife April head to New York City to promote her new book, How to Survive a Sharknado and Other Unnatural Disasters. What other unnatural disasters do you have expertise in? And what makes you an expert after one Sharknado experience? Moving along, their plane is attacked by airborne sharks because reasons, and the sharks enter the plane, killing both pilots and many passengers. So Finn, being an action star, takes the controls and lands the plane while April's hand is removed from her forearm. Once they get off the plane, nobody believes their story about the sharks, even after shark weather events have been canonically established in the universe. This woman is selling Sharknado non-fiction, and people don't believe her, but I digress. Something romantic subplot, baseball game, more tornado bombs. It's very creative, I assure you. We're then again treated to some very big-brained pseudoscience solutions as Finn finagles his way into riding a flying shark like a bucking bronco. Then a Freon bomb is detonated atop the Empire State Building via lightning rod. Then pre-abuse Jared Fogle shows up. I don't know if that was before or after, either way. And Finn reproposes to his ex-wife with the ring off her severed hand. Morbid, yet romantic. Coming in at number 3, Rubber. I figured I'd give Sharknado a break at this point. 2's company, 3's a crowd and all that. Rubber is about a sentient, psychic tire named Robert. Robert learns that he exists and then goes on a killing spree. He explodes bottles and rabbits and truck drivers' skulls and motel maids and tire fire revelers. It's a very intricate and complex story. Also, there's a meta subplot about people watching the movie and also participating in the movie and eating poisoned turkey, and the movie can't end until everyone's dead. Honestly, I'm not doing it justice. It's the perfect movie, go watch it. Coming at number 2, Sharknado 3. Oh hell no. Psych! You thought we were done with Sharknado? You thought I would pull the plug at 2? Grow up. Finn is back, and this time he's in Washington, getting a Presidential Medal of Freedom. And guess what? Another Sharknado strikes. This time it's a tsunami-style wall of water and carnivorous fish. Damn. Apparently Finn is the only one able to combat this because he's a cool guy, and no world government has bothered to enact some sort of Sharknado Defense Act or failsafe. Oh, there's a quick mention of Universal Orlando, the perfect place to plan your next vacation. Make that money, boys. Something romantic subplot. Finn's estranged father is apparently a NASA colonel, so what else is there to do other than fight the sharks from the cold vacuum of outer space? Their plan's a little difficult to understand, likely because of the gigantic brains behind it, but if I were to summarize it in a way that most of us non-NASA folk might understand, I would say top secret space shuttle, rocket fuel storm explosion. Hell yeah. Unfortunately, this precise and thorough plan doesn't work, so they use a secret high-powered laser beam instead. Because yes, I want to see that. Now the thing about laser beams from space is they actually propel whatever you're targeting towards the weapon itself. So the sharks fly into space, and Finn fights them with a chainsaw lightsaber. Who else is excited for No More Heroes 3? Finn and April get eaten by sharks in space, and then the offending sharks fall back down to Earth. Miraculously, both of our protagonists emerge unscathed after touchdown. Even more extraordinarily, April gave birth in a shark falling from orbit. In a shark. Then she's crushed by a piece of the falling space shuttle. I love movies. And lastly at number 1 we've got Poultrygeist, Night of the Living Dead. Trauma, trauma, trauma. Poultrygeist is a musical horror about zombie chickens so densely packed with dumb plot points, one-note caricature characters, and ridiculous sing-along numbers that it is impossible not to love. Thank you, Lloyd Kaufman. The fact that this exists at all is a miracle. The plot focuses on a group of average American folks being trapped inside an American chicken bunker. Oddly named, this is actually just an alternate universe KFC. Soon enough, they're all attacked by a chicken, zombie, demon, alien spirit brought back to life thanks to the restaurant being built atop a sacred Native American burial ground. Now I will list a bunch of plot points in no apparent order. A Colonel Sanders type lays an egg. The egg hatches. He is then attacked by the baby chicken zombie. He then turns into an egg himself and hatches into a zombie chicken. A redneck performs intimate acts upon a raw chicken before the chicken bites something very important to him. A Mexican man is ground into pieces and made into a sentient, sloppy Jose. Yes, Jose. Someone finds out that alcohol kills the zombie chickens better than everything else, which leads to a nice fire hose of beer. A woman leaves her boyfriend for a hippie woman, who then takes a bribe to advertise chicken, which leads the first woman returning to her new old boyfriend, who now works at the same chicken joint that bribed the hippie. People get covered in blood, both red and green, lots of gross out jokes, lots of juvenile gags. It's a lot, okay? A lot of fun, the best. And I haven't even touched on the musical aspects yet. I'll let you enjoy that on your own time. Oh, and see if you can spot Ron Jeremy, he's in there too. Kicking us off at number 5, we've got Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens! In this 2016 made-for-TV sci-fi disaster movie, no, I'm kidding guys, don't crucify me. Or do, I don't care, go nuts. Okay, on to the real number 5. Coming in at number 5, we've got Night of the Bloody Apes. This is the English version of the Mexican horror film known as The Horrible Man-Beast, also known as Horror and Sex, also known as Gomar, the Human Gorilla. All 3 excellent titles, and I would highly consider watching each. However, as an English edition, some essential bits were cut out, making the plot even more senseless. Excellent. Director Rene Cardona is best known for blending lucha libre and horror, which is exactly what we're getting here. You know, masked Mexican wrestling, WWE before WWE was a thing, Chavo Guerrero, anyone? Back to the plot of the movie, it was actually a remake of the director's previous film, because some films just simply require being remade every couple of years. It just makes sense. So we meet a mad scientist who truly loves his sickly son. It's beautiful. Unfortunately, it seems that the son isn't going to make it, leaving the doctor to desperately look for alternative treatments. Then, ping, a light bulb goes off. We'll transplant a gorilla heart into my dying child. Yes, the procedure is a success, saving the boy's life. However, it also turns him into a monstrous ape-like creature who proceeds to head off on an assault and murder spree before being taken down by a luchadora. Also, the doctor wants to re-perform the transplant and put a human heart back in. Although, like I said before, the English version snips a lot of luchadora content, making it even harder to follow. I love it though. Why does giving someone a gorilla heart work? Where did the gorilla heart come from? Why does it cause such insane changes both physically and mentally? How did they get real open heart surgery footage into this film? There's real open heart surgery footage. Questions for folks more clever than I. But in the end, Night of the Bloody Apes, or whatever you want to call it, is a bunch of wrestling, gore, and nudity stitched together to the best of the director's abilities. And it's wonderful. Next flick. Coming in at number 4, Dead and Breakfast. The first time I read the title, I didn't say it out loud, I read it like written down. I didn't fully get the pun. Like I was looking at it like dead and breakfast, like you're dead and it's breakfast. Oh, like bed and breakfast. So to start us off, we'll take a look at the tagline of this movie. It's like a bad horror movie, only worse. Well, at least they know what they're going for, right? A full-fledged effort at achieving the goofy cult movie vibe, but they just sort of whiff it. Unfortunate, I know, but it's not totally unsalvageable. It's about a group of generic pals heading to a wedding in an RV. Do they make it to the wedding? No! Does it matter? Absolutely not. Of course, they get lost in a creepy small town and are forced to spend the night at a dead end breakfast. Someone insults a chef and everyone gets in a heated argument, and then somehow the chef and property owner both end up dead. The cops are called and the tourists are suspected, and then an ancient wood box containing a killer spirit is opened. Now one of our generic pals named Johnny is possessed and ready to go on a murderous rampage. The only thing left to do is to bring him to a party, right? So the sheriff drives everyone to a nearby party because that's what cops do. And then Johnny shows up to kill people, and he does. He kills a lot of people. And then the people turn into zombies. But they're definitely not zombies. Right, everyone? Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, this whole thing is a musical. Backwater zombie musical. Sounds fun, to be honest. Everything's narrated by a country-style song singer. And then the zombies line dance. In the end, Dead and Breakfast falls short of a lovable romp that it hoped to be, but hey, not everyone can pull off an Evil Dead. Coming in at number 3, Night Trap. Yeah, okay. Yeah, alright, get it out. This isn't technically a movie, but damn if it doesn't feel like a lot of the other Drek I've talked about, alright? Plus, it was shot with a budget of $1.5 million on 35mm film. Full motion video, of course it counts. Don't have an aneurysm. This beautiful piece of machinery was shot like a sitcom for a VHS-based console that never came to fruition. Eventually, it was ported to the Sega CD and caused the world's biggest stink over video game violence. It was even brought up as a major piece of evidence at a Senate committee concerning video game violence. Holy smokes. Times were much simpler then, you see. Pulling our focus back to the plot, we see the world through the eyes of a member of the SCAT team. Yeah, the Special Control Attack Team, or the Sega Control Attack Team. Either way, we're dealing with SCAT. 5 teenage girls have disappeared from a winery estate, and it's up to SCAT to figure out what's happening. Security cameras, traps, and a console to control them all are located inside the house, and someone needs to use it effectively in order to save all of the lives involved. A special agent has been sent in undercover as one of the girls, and the team has to work together to spring traps at the right time to ensure everyone's safety. Turns out, the house is full of lunatics and augurs, which are weird half-vampire things that run around in rubber suits and suck blood by inserting tubes and poles into people's necks. So in the end, Night Trap is a vampire slumber party monitored by the police. And that doesn't sound too out there, sure, but remember that the whole house is full of high-tech remote control traps, and I'm assuming that they were originally meant to trap victims. The hunters become the hunted though, as SCAT springs snare after dastardly snare upon the augurs and the winemakers. Trapdoors, glass walls, and spring-loaded beds launching people like catapults. What a wonderful world. There are many different endings to this story, but I won't spoil any of them for you. Just go check it out yourself. Eating its way in at number 2, we've got Criminally Insane. The alternate title to this one is Crazy Fat Ethel, and that's also the title of the 3rd movie in the series that came out decades later. I'll let that sit with you for a moment. Are you ready? Alright. Morbidly obese Ethel Janowski is released from a psychiatric institution into the care of her San Franciscan grandmother. Of course, Ethel immediately eats everything she can get her hands on, prompting Gam Gam to lock up the cupboards and dump the contents of the fridge. Ethel is very unhappy with this development and decides that killing poor Nona is the best course of action. She throws her corpse in a locked bedroom and orders more food over the phone. Nothing works up an appetite like a good murder, eh? When the delivery boy shows up with the food, Ethel has no money to pay for it. Whatever should she do? Nah, she kills him. Soon after, her prostitute sister shows up and complains about the smell and proceeds to lay about the house. Then her ex-boyfriend slash pimp shows up and convinces her that she needs a good beating every once in a while. So now we've got Ethel living with her sister and a pimp, both of whom are wondering about the smell and doing absolutely nothing about it. Ethel's doctor shows up for a precautionary checkup and gets murked by a candlestick holder, just like Clue. A few days later, a detective visits, investigating the missing delivery boy. He leaves without learning much, somehow. Then, in rapid succession, Ethel kills her sister, then the pimp, and then sleeps with his body. A mannequin busting, graveyard dancing montage occurs, and then she kills a drunken John and tries to dump all the bodies in the ocean. Finding too many bystanders by the water, she heads home with a trunk full of corpses. A curious neighbor finds a severed hand near the car and promptly calls the police. Mr. Useless Detective shows back up, only to find Ethel eating her abuela's arm like a gosh darn cob of corn. Every single plot point in this movie exists solely to let us see more of Ethel eating or bathing in blood. That's it. Thank you to the producer who gave this one the thumbs up. And lastly, burning up at number 1, we've got Blood Freak. Tagline, a Dracula on drugs. Whatever that means. Don't tell me you're not curious. I'm still trying to figure out if this movie is pro or anti-marijuana. Something tells me we'll never know for sure. Herschel, a Vietnam veteran, is riding his bike down the highway and stumbles upon a young religious girl named Angel. Angel? The subtlety in some of these movies is mind-blowing. So he heads back to Angel's place and meets her sister, Anne, who is a pot-smoking drug addict. act. When offered some of the laughing leaf, he declines, obviously under the good influence of Angel. Later, when cleaning the pool, Anne offers him a spicy cigarette, which he graciously accepts. This causes him to become immediately addicted to the devil's lettuce. Right away. Reefer madness is no joke, folks. Herschel then gets a job at the turkey farm and eats experimental turkey to score some more kush. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. There's something wrong with the meat, and he has a seizure. So what do the turkey scientists do? Do they call the ambulance? Do they, check if he's alive? No, they dispose of his body. But he's not really dead, is he? Nope, he wakes up as a turkey-headed man with a thirst for blood. Not just any blood though. Drug addict blood. So he seeks out Anne, who promises to help, but he ends up killing a bunch of people, so she has her pals chop off his head with a machete. Poor Herschel. All he wanted was some of that dank. But wait, in another twist of fate, Herschel wakes up. Turns out the whole turkey-headed thing was just a grass-induced hallucination. So he talks to Angel, who conveniently works in rehab, and gets himself straight with hard work, exercise, and of course, prayer. It's enough to make a grown man weep. This is truly a film like no other. Mixed messages, messy editing, a running gag where the director keeps stepping in to comment on what's happening. Oh boy. And of course, nothing makes a lick of sense. Just the way I like it. So what are you waiting for? Go watch some of these flicks and be just as confused as me.